criticize her, and for
every
you,
time.
and for somebody else's, and for somebody else's woman, it might not be tickling nipples. You know what I mean? It might be something else. You know what I mean? For my woman though, shoot, now she be wanting me to criticize her. Come on, criticize me.
Well, now she's seeking correction. She seeks correction because it comes with benefits.
Trying to tell you, bro. Hey, I'm trying to tell you, there's all kind of benefits to that. I'm trying to tell you.
So let's go.
And obviously, before I did that, I discussed that with my wife. And my wife is y'all know her. She ain't, she like, yeah, let's do it. I don't go for it. I don't
We
care.
discussed
Share it.
this. No, if you was really gonna be a G about it, you would have tagged her.
Oh,
I knew.
well.
why didn't we tag her so that all of the world could follow the trail of who is he?
It's a great idea. I'm doing it right now.
Who's Oh, it's too late now.
Highly inappropriate.
What's your opinion on this, Majida? We talking about my post from earlier today.
I decline to answer on the grounds that I may incriminate myself.
No, you don't plead the fifth on this one because you're not under investigation. Maurice is. Maurice, you are on the stand.
Hey, you know me. I'll stand on my square, man. I don't put it out there unless I'm willing to stand on it.
So as the trucker talks, he's doubling down on it.
All right.
And tonight you are rocking with the Seer Mastermind group. I am your accountability mastermind habit coach. Go ahead and put the labels up. Go ahead, drop it. Let them know.
Wait a minute.
Let them know who I are and what that's right. I am. You're like it's gonna be one of those nights. Welcome to the Seer Mastermind Show. Our story, our journey, our way, bringing the lighter side of entrepreneurship, but also sharing it from the bottom. Right, all of us on the journey up and making progress each day. And today, man, we're gonna talk about doubling down. my man Maurice really put something out there today. And well, actually, let's go ahead and introduce our co-hosts that are rocking with me tonight. We've got Majida Bay. Majida, tell them who you are. I want to hear your intro.
I am Majida Bay, your glorious queen, mother, and financial conductor. And I have to think of an adjective. Phenomenal, extraordinaire coordinator. Something like that. I'll work that up. But anyway,
let's go adjectives.
That's true.
Yo, I
you gotta get it to flow better, but it was all true.
Yeah. Queen, mother, financial conductor, phenomenal coordinator. I am a blessed and loving mother, a devout and loyal friend, conscientious and responsible steward, and a committed and virtuous partner.
Bum, 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 bum. That's for the air horns that my bro won't
still working on getting that.
Still working on getting that.
Still working on the tech out on that.
That's the entrepreneur.
the faint air horns.
Hey, look, we turn up if you want. But outstanding. And we also have the Helpful Trucker, creator of the Helpful Trucker channel, Mr. Maurice Bay in the building.
That's me. How are you, family? How's everybody this evening?
Hey, we outstanding. I need to know what's happening. What's happening in the background? What do you got playing for that green screen? You about to do a karate movie or something?
Watch this.
What's happening?
Hang on 1 second.
I'm about to share something for you, bro.
What's that gonna be?
Bang, how about that?
My man visualizing the future.
Homie, I'm in the living room now. You want me to switch it up to something else?
Come on now.
You want me to switch it up to something
with
else?
The grand piano in the background.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
So when you ask what's the plan for it, whatever. That's the benefit of a green screen. You know what I mean? You can change it to whatever. You know.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful tool because you could literally project yourself anywhere.
Yeah. That
you can imagine. So,
that's the beginnings. It ain't finished yet, but we getting started.
Yeah.
What's going on there? What was that?
Preview. You ain't see it?
I saw it, but I didn't understand it. What are we looking at?
You can't read it?
No, I'm on the internet. I'm not reading. Come on. Are you kidding? If you didn't catch my attention in the first 3 seconds.
Anyway.
I'm serious. No, but really, explain what we're looking at.
It's to come. So we'll
okay.
Yeah.
Guess you guys got to tune in. 2022, the helpful trucker.
No, not
Question
that.
Marks.
It's probably in like another week. 2022 is too long, too far away.
No. By the time they see it, it'll be out there. It'll be growing.
No.
Like, why haven't I heard of this? 2022 pops like that. So, man, what are we talking about tonight? So, as I said, this is our story, our journey, our way. We're here to help people who are looking for support, encouragement, accountability, and recognition in growing themselves and their businesses. We came together at the end of 2019, made a decision that we needed support. So we brought the family of entrepreneurs together. Shout out to, entrepreneurial family. Let me get the faint air horn. And look, we're enjoying the journey and doing it our way. And so we get together every couple of weeks to talk, chat, share our insights on the journey, share our stories. Hopefully that you get some value out of it, because I know that on our way from the bottom, and nobody really showed us what the journey's really like every day.
What is this bottom like?
So okay, let's talk about that. So what is the bottom? What is the bottom of the entrepreneurial journey?
We came from the bottom, now we here. Like what?
No. We're not here. I mean, we're here, but we're not like
there.
So, so what was your rock bottom moment in your entrepreneurial journey? Ooh.
Oh, you said entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. What was your rock bottom journey?
I don't know that I've had my rock bottom in my entrepreneurial journey. I've had a rock bottom in my personal life. That was 2018.
Ooh.
Probably, yeah, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I came from that bottom, yeah, I'm grateful to be where I am today.
Well, that's your story. We'd love to hear.
In entrepreneurship. Nah, I mean, I've talked about it. I've alluded to it in various conversations. But I don't want to focus any energy on that, because I learned what I needed to learn and moved in a different direction. So that's the lesson I took from it.
Cool.
Yeah, I would like to touch on that.
Your rock bottom.
I don't know if I'll say it that way. I don't know if I'll say it that way, but put it like this. I can remember when I sold vacuum cleaners, right?
Yeah.
Those that know me know I sold vacuum cleaners for a long time, over a decade. But I can remember when I sold vacuum cleaners, right? Like I would be it's gonna sound like I'm off subject, but I'm not. So just follow me. I can remember being in certain customers' house, right? I'm in a customer's house. They're a well-off customer, older couple, well-established. The credit is there. The money is there. Got $150,000, $200,000 RV in the yard along with other vehicles, right? So I can recall this happening more than once. I'm closing the customer, and the objection that the customer is giving me has to do with a money objection. Like I would hear stuff like, I can't get the Kirby right now because I got to get tires on my RV. And I can recall hearing that objection like that more than one time. And every time I would think to myself, damn, those are good problems to have. Like I know it's just an objection. You know what I mean? Like you're not talking about your car blew up and you can't get to work. You're like, my objection is I got to get tires on my RV. Those are good problems to have. So I know the type of clientele I'm dealing with when I'm in that situation. Obviously, I ain't listening to them tell me they can't afford it. The point is, I'm looking at their problems like those are good problems to have from where I stand, right?
Yeah.
So like right now, I get comments on my YouTube channel. I just got one the other day. I did a rant video the other day talking about all of the stuff that's been going on with my truck lately, right? It's been getting on my nerves and costing me money and all of that stuff. And I've had a few people that posted on that video. One dude said specifically, those are rich man's problems I would love to have. Now, of course, obviously, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm nowhere near being rich, but the point is, from his perspective, to have problems on the level that I'm having it on, it's like, damn, I would rather be there than I can't afford to put $20 in my gas tank. You know what I'm saying? Like my car is messed up. It's going to be $800 and I can't afford to fix it. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? So the same way I used to look at those people that had the RV situation, they need tires in their RV, so they can't spend money on the Kirby right now. Like I got people looking at me like that the same way. And in having that happen this week specifically, you know, it's like, man, from their perspective, they are where I want to be. So like, I can remember, speaking about all that, I can remember when having $20 or $30 to put in the gas tank was an issue. I can remember that. You get what I'm saying? I can remember when, if somebody would approach me with a business opportunity where I had to have $200, $400, $500 to start, you know, regardless of whether I wanted to do it or not. If you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. But I can remember at times that being the objection. Like, I can't start because I don't have the $300, or I want to start, but I'm gonna have to wait for 2 weeks. I'm gonna have to wait for a month to come up with this $500 to start this business opportunity. Well, I'm not where I want to be. This is not a rant about me bragging about where I am, because I'm definitely not where I want to be, but I damn sure am not where I was. 100%. So that's kind of how I'll summarize that. You know what I mean? I can clearly see where you know, the advancement throughout my life. So I don't know about the bottom, but I can remember when I wasn't where I am right now. 100%.
Hey man, I'm glad you sure. Let's hear a little bit of that rant tonight. Let's see. I'm gonna just jump in the middle of it. We got
fuel still. And I got 150 tanks
on
this truck. So I can run about 500-600 miles on one tank. Right. So I really don't need the other tank. So the simplest way to do it would just be to get the fuel out of that passenger tank. Yesterday, I'm smart. I start trying to siphon fuel out of the passenger tank. That ain't working. I got diesel fuel all in my mustache. I'm out here pissed off. This was just yesterday. Okay? My hands, you see how my hands look right now? My hands look like this now because I've been under the hood of the truck today messing with the alternator. And yesterday I'm messing with the diesel fuel. So I realized that's not working. Right. So today, when I took the alternator to the shop to get them to remove the body of the screw, I drove my truck over there and got them to pump the rest of the fuel out of that side.
Oh man,
of the passenger.
Okay.
What was the purpose of showing that?
Just needed to feel it, you know. I want to feel some of those rich people problems. You know what I'm saying?
That's the way the one guy defined it.
You know? That's the way the one guy defined it. But look, you're a man of many perspectives. So tell us a little bit. How does it feel to be on the other side of that a little bit? To have people looking up at you for the type of problems that you're dealing with.
It feels good. It's a mark of it's a I can't think of the word that I'm trying to say, but like it shows me my progression. It definitely shows me my progression. You know what I mean? Because I can recall a point, you know, I didn't speak about this a second ago, but I can recall a point where I was like, everybody looks at truck drivers that way. It's just unconsciously. People look at truck drivers, like you in trucking, we know you dealing with big money. That's just the unconscious way people look at trucking. You know what I mean? I've looked at truckers that way, you know, like you dealing with, you know, you paying $300 a day to run your truck. You paying $1,500 a week to you know, just to run your truck. Yeah, I mean, that's more than some people make in 2 weeks. You understand what I'm saying? You paying that just to run your truck. So yeah, it's definitely a clear mark of where, you know what I mean, where I was. I used to look at people like that and be like, you know, yeah, you definitely solving bigger problems than I'm solving. So you obviously dealing with more income than I'm dealing with, you know, and now I'm playing that game. I'm in that space right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely a clear indication of where I came from, where I was, and damn, you know, okay, you know, regardless how tough it is right now, and regardless how many things coming up right now, again, it's a clear indication that I'm going in the right direction.
Okay, I'm feeling that. 100%. I'm feeling that's big. That's big. And, you know, I think that really touches on what we wanted to get into tonight. Because I've had my bottom moment as well. Yeah, just jumping into entrepreneurship my first year. And for me, the bottom was actually, well, I had a moment in my professional career, reaching the bottom where I was, you know, booted out of my career, booted out of my job, and all I had was my entrepreneurial venture at the time to sustain me. And I realized, man, a month into that, I had no way to generate income on my own, right? And it was a pitiful moment, if you will. Like, if I look back at myself, I would pity me in that moment because of what I didn't know. my faith, my hope was high, right? But the results were very, very low. They weren't matching up. They weren't adding up. So I had to figure some things out along the journey. But just as you mentioned that you had been in vacuum sales, right? And my G, even you in the financial industry, and you making a shift into doing more general contract work, right? And like myself, coming from the financial industry and going into accountability and personal development, business and financial coaching. Right? At some point along the journey, all of us have switched it up or kept something going and added something to it, but all of us have switched it up. And I can remember a few times where when things still weren't looking out, I kept digging the hole deeper and doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. Like, this got to be the vehicle. It's like holding on to that vehicle that's always. It's like driving with the engine light on. You know, the check engine light on. And you just be like, it's gonna take me. It's gonna get me to the next light. It's gonna get me to the next destination. It's gonna get me there, right? And at some point, you've got to make a decision. Are you gonna keep doubling down, or and call it quits, or do you need to pivot and change directions? And so this question came up early this week in our mastermind. And so I'm curious, from those times where you were, at a bottom moment, if you have switched it up, doubled down, what are some of the things that you considered? What are some of the questions that you asked yourself when you were at I don't want to say stuck between a rock and a hard place, but you were at a pivotal moment in your journey? What were some of the things that you considered or questions that you asked yourself on whether to determine whether you would double down and keep going? Yeah, which way to go? Whether you double down or whether you would switch it up and move in a different direction?
I think, I think for me, because I've switched my focus, but I haven't really let anything go. And what I had to get clear on was really just knowing myself, really leaning into how can I maximize my potential? What environment is most conducive for me to execute? And so in looking at, the success that I've had in different arenas, it was like, all right, when I'm operating in this arena, I'm energized, I am effective, people are responsive, right? Like, I get results. And in a different environment.
Can you make that a little more tangible? Give us a.
So, I can go back to my introduction when I said that I am a phenomenal coordinator extraordinaire, right? Whatever you want. Maybe that sounds good. Phenomenal. You're a phenomenal extraordinary women. Phenomenal coordinator extraordinaire. But coordinating things comes easy to me. And so something that I learned from a coach that I had the opportunity to work with a few years ago was that whatever comes easy to you that's difficult for most people is your strength, right? Or your superpower. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't aware of it, right? Like, because it came easy, I kind of took it for granted. I didn't really embrace it and see the value in it. Yeah. But when I reflected on, I've been doing this for 15 years and
sheesh,
somebody like me, like how does somebody like me get to succeed in the industry that I'm in? And I had to look at, like, I was given that gift, you know. So I'm grateful to the Creator for giving me that gift and me utilizing that gift in the way that it was intended. And once I was able to truly see that, right, and recognize it and embrace it, and I had a coach to help me to see that, like, this is where you can maximize your potential. And so it helped me to recognize that, like, you're not here by accident, right? Like, you in here for a reason. And as a result of that, I lean more into it. Like, wait a minute, I kind of do it. I'm all right doing this.
I'm kind of dope at this.
Yeah, for sure. And so it also allowed me to, kind of recognize that, all right, I operate more efficiently when I'm by myself, and my energy comes from me spending time alone. And when I'm around other people, my energy gets drained. And so when I, think about my energy or the environment that I was in with financial services, one-on-one, phenomenal, right? I can sit down with a person, help them with a plan, put together a strategy. But when I was in environments where there was a lot of people, a lot going on, and a lot of engagement, like, it drained me. And so that's not the most conducive environment for me. For some other people, it's great. It's perfect. But that's not where I'm going to be most effective. I'm more effective one-on-one, not in a large setting, not in a large group. So just understanding yourself, like knowing yourself. And so I still have my license in financial services, and I plan to keep it indefinitely because it's still a skill that I can use, right? It's
residuals too.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna let them residuals go either. You just keep building the book.
I mean, it's a tool in the tool belt that I can utilize, and I can definitely leverage it as I transition into other arenas, because it's something that is still valuable, still of value, but I can use it more strategically in terms of helping businesses set up financial plans, right? I work with the owners,
employees,
themselves.
You know what I'm saying? Get that multiplier effect.
Absolutely.
Maurice, you on mute? Come on, chime in.
So yeah, being more strategic about it, because I recognize that it drained me smiling and dialing, right? Like that drained me. However, when I'm doing like the live streams weekly with John, it's just me and him. It's one-on-one. And if whoever hear it, whoever reach out. But I'd rather attract the people to me who are seeking the information than to chase the people or whatever you want to call it. Like,
yeah. Absolutely. So for you, it taught you to know yourself better.
Yeah.
Right. And you've endured long enough to maintain the value that you get out of making the decision in the past, but shifting directions now so that you feel more fulfilled, more energized in what you do. I like that.
I'm able to use my gift more, right? Like I'm underutilizing my gift right now. So I'm looking at ways that I can maximize that.
I love it. How about you, trucker? You muted. Come on.
Yeah. So, to me, the subject of what to double down on as opposed to what to run with, as opposed to what to cut. Like I look at that from a couple of different ways, right? So, one thing that I'm thinking about is like a Warren Buffett. I've heard before that Warren Buffett, every so often, like if he owns 50 businesses, he will cut the bottom 10%, and he will double down on the top 10%, or he'll double down on what's working, and he'll eliminate what's not working. So, like you, when you initially got into this, you spoke about it from the perspective of, you were at a point in your life where there was a need to do something. Like you needed to do something. You found yourself being at a crossroad, and it's like, okay, it's something that I need, and I got a choice as far as which way to go to get it. Right. That's one way that I see it. But another way that I see it is more or less from like a time perspective. So if a person is extremely busy, right? Like you can only do so many things in one day, in one time. You can only do so many things. And so that as a person, again, that is, every so often you come to that feeling of being at a crossroad. It's like, if I can only do so many things, what do I do? Right. And I think at that point, sometimes I know me in my own entrepreneurial journey, sometimes I will, I guess just from, using the shotgun effect, planting many seeds, what I mean? Call it a bunch of different things, but it's like, trying to get something going, essentially. Right. And so like, which way do you go with that? Do I keep building out things? Do I keep on putting different stuff out there and hopefully something will grow? Or what do I double down on? So that's kind of how I see that whole thing. So when I evaluate that and I'm in my journey, how do I decide? The main question that pops into my mind is what is working? Or I think that's the main question that I should be looking at a point like that. And I'm talking about, mainly from the perspective of time. Like if a person is limited on time and they're involved in a bunch of different things, like, how do I take this thing to another level? That's kind of how I arrived at this question, asking myself, what do I double down on, or what do I, how do I do this? And so it's like, you got to be able to look at what is working. You got to be able to be honest with yourself. You have to be able to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Meaning, at a point like this, if I'm doing something that is not getting me much of a result and time is a factor, then in that situation it's like, okay, which thing do I continue doing? And I think that for me, one thing that I have often overlooked in the past is just looking at what is working. To me, that's the most logical thing, right? What is working? And so it's like, do I go with what's already working, or do I rebuild something else? Like right now, I'm kind of at that juncture right now in my own journey. I have an affiliate offer that I've come across that I'm promoting that is converting, and it's converting pretty hands off, pretty passively. Like I put the link up that leads to the funnel, and that's it. I don't do anything else. People click the link, and some people make it through to the other side and they buy. It's very passive. It's very hands off. So it's like, all right, if I'm looking at building out my brand, which is what I am looking to do right now, build out and monetize the Helpful Trucker brand. There's a bunch of different ways that I can monetize. Do I sell merch? Do I, launch a group, which I'm considering doing? Do I turn on my YouTube memberships, which I have the option of doing? Now all of these things require time. Or do I continue to do something that is already working? When I posed this to my other mastermind group a few weeks ago, unanimously, they were like, hey, man, if time is a factor for you, you definitely like is something that you're doing already working? And I told them about this affiliate promotion that I'm doing right now. I haven't sold many. I haven't gotten many sales, but I've gotten enough at this point to show that this is kind of starting to work on autopilot. So they're like, man, why would you be thinking about putting time into anything else other than something that you've already got working? Why not just double down on that? The path is already carved. The water has already started to wear the groove in that path of the mountain. So you can spend your time going to carve another groove, going to carve some more, create some more momentum, or you can just kind of fall into the momentum that you've already created. And for me, when you look at it from that way, it's a simple answer. Like it's a simple, logical answer, right? What's working? Okay, I'm gonna do more of this. What's not working? I'm gonna do less of that. But you got to be unemotional. You got to be able to detach from things. And a lot of times I have a problem letting things go. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us do. Like we don't want to quit. We don't want to feel like we're quitting, but like, when do you double down and when do you let it go? like if you able to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, it's like this ain't working.
Chop it down.
Cut it. You know what I mean? What's your
well, no, I was real before you push it over to Bakar, but I love your perspective about how Warren Buffett makes his decision. Because when you were saying that, to me, it mirrored the idea of pruning, right? Like in order for a rose bush to grow to its
fully
maximum,
grow,
right? You got to prune it. You got to cut some things back so that, and so I just wanted to, kind of point out that analogy. I don't know where these hiccups came from. So yeah, I think that's a great analogy of just pruning and judging the tree by the fruit that it bears. It makes it easier or simpler to make that decision. Like, all right, well, this tree ain't bearing any fruit. And I actually shared this with a friend of mine. I was just like, I got to invest more in the income producing activities, right? Like that's what's generating the revenue. And I'm not doing enough of that because I'm investing time in areas that aren't producing, but, I feel obligated to, or I've committed to. And, in this season, I need to produce a harvest, right? Like I need to plant seeds and cultivate those seeds, not just, kind of sit back and expect a harvest if I'm not cultivating. So go ahead, Bakar.
Oh no. And I'm gonna take your harvest analogy and recognize, man, the season for planting seeds and the season for harvesting are two different seasons. Now, granted, you can plant seeds in different plots in different areas and you can sprinkle them around. And I think that's something that has to be ongoing. But when it comes to harvest, like that actually requires work. You can't just stare at the harvest and expect the fruit to pick itself. Okay.
Yeah,
so so for those that listen, like understand in harvest season, there is work to be done.
Absolutely.
You don't plant all of those seeds, grow it, and leave those, not even just the low-hanging fruit. I mean, like leave those big juicy fruits to sit on the tree or to fall off on their own for somebody else to catch and pick. Right? You done primed up a whole audience, and next thing you know, because you're not serving them appropriately, you're not giving proper attention to the things that are bringing value to your community or to those that you serve. Somebody else is going to swoop in and be like, "Ooh, juicy fruit," right? So actually, I have a little bit of different. I want to echo, both.
I was going to ask you your opinion on that.
Yeah, my opinion and my experience has been a little different because yes, I have looked at what's working, and that is a foundational question that I ask myself: what's working? But I don't just look at the tangible outcomes because my journey is more about fulfillment, purpose. Right? Is this purposeful to me? Right? Am I doing work that I find purpose and fulfillment in? Am I doing work that actually, and the key word for me is joy or enjoyment? And do I find joy in what I'm doing? Right? And when there is no sense of joy, or when the joy is being drained from it, when I'm battling between what I believe it can be for me and what I'm actually feeling day to day and doing the work, or living out whatever that that activity or whatever I'm engaged in. When the joy starts to drain, I start to move away. Right. And sometimes it's like, man, if you just stick with it, you just stick with it. I'm not a quitter. Right. I'm gonna see things to the end of its season. Right, like it has to die in my hands for me to I am so much like me letting things go. Like it literally has to die in my hands. And I've had to actually develop a really, really close and intimate relationship with my creator to understand when things are coming to their end, when their season. So 2020, I made that decision. Working 3 years in the financial industry, I was great at attracting people to the idea of being financially free. I was subpar and being able to produce in that industry. Not because I didn't have the knowledge, not because I didn't have the skill. Some of it was I didn't enjoy the work. And I was the one who would show up at the office at 9:00 and be there till midnight because I felt like I had to put in that time. I felt like I had to dedicate time in the environment, but just picking up the phone and dialing strangers sometimes, even though, you know, I've never known a stranger, I can make people a friend. But all I had, like in the back of my mind, there was always, I have to produce for my business. I can't just get to know these people and help them develop. And actually, for me, the business that I was in got in the way. Right. As long as I was holding that license, I felt like I had to produce with it. But it got in the way of me actually giving what was of value in me. And for years, I doubled down because, you know, the first year, hey, I got to get out here and learn it. The next year, man, I got good at least bringing people in. Wasn't a top producer, was a top recruiter. So I knew I could move people. But why was it for me? Why did it keep cutting off there? Why did I not graduate into being more productive? And how many years? And this is something that I really value. Like when I lost my job, it gave me a sigh of relief because I felt in my spirit, I'm not going to continue to dedicate so much of my life, right? After 13 years in undergrad and graduate school, more or less, right? Or at least in that environment, and a few years in industry or around the industry, I quickly realized, oh no, I am not going to spend the rest of my days doing this again. I've learned a lot and this hasn't worked for me. It hasn't worked effectively, right? I saw my sister go through school 4 years. She got out, got a job. She's been doing the same thing for 15 years. That was not my journey. I was like, what worked for her did not work for me.
And I think that's key to understand that perspective as well.
Yeah.
Knowing yourself, right?
Like anybody that is like, just because something works for you doesn't mean that it's gonna work for the next one. Like we're all on different journeys. We're all here to learn different lessons and to get different things. If we were all here to learn the same thing, we'd all have to take the same path. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's relevant to bring out as well. One of the main questions I ask myself at a juncture like that is what's working. But you know, again, that's just a perspective. That may not be the absolute way to do it. But as you're saying, as you were talking, I wanted to ask a question and then give both of y'all a chance to, respond to it, kind of based on what you started talking about, Bakar. This is what popped into my head when you were saying, about the fulfillment piece, like what's working is more than just the tangible aspect of it. Like I'm getting results from it. For you, the result may be a feeling. It may be several other things other than, just the most obvious result. And I totally get that. Also piggybacking on what you were saying about like the choice between doing what like, okay, I need to be fulfilled in doing what I'm doing. It's just not just about making money, right? So as you were saying that, I'm thinking about a video that I heard Grant Cardone make. And, I'm just sharing what I heard him say and just want to get y'all perspective on it. Grant was one time, they sent him to talk to the military or the people that were coming out of the military to help them transition back to civilian life. And he, in this speech, was talking to people about, he thought it was total BS that they should be focusing on doing what they love at that transitional point in their career. He was like, man, y'all need to forget about what you're being told, which is do what you love. You need to do what's making you money. You need to focus on making your money. So just hearing what you were saying a minute ago, the question I wrote down on my pad is, and Majid, if you want to, you could throw this on the little ticker on the bottom. Do what you love or do what's making money. Like, which way do you go? If you're at that juncture, and this is going to depend on, I guess, what juncture you're at. Like if you're the head of household and, like the family got to eat, you might not have time to do what you love. But I'm just wondering your perspective, y'all's perspective on that. I know it's important to do what you love and be fulfilled, but it's also important to make the money. So do what you love or go get the money, go make the money if you got to make that choice. What's y'all's perspective on that?
I'm gonna yield the floor because I'm gonna go in on this one.
I would say honor your gift and the money will come. Like and I think I've shared this. I don't know if it was on this show. I think I did it a couple weeks ago. I think it was last week when I did my live stream last Tuesday, and I talked about quality versus quantity. And I gave the analogy that we're often focused on having things, right? Like we're very much conditioned to have stuff, right? So we go to school, we get grades so we can get a job, and we get a job so that we can make money to buy stuff, right? We want to have things. And then after a while of having things, you realize that, like, okay, having things is cool, but like, am I really doing what I should be doing? Am I doing what I love? So then you're like, well, maybe I should find something else to do. And so you pursue other things to do. And you do that for a while. You may get some more fulfillment from that. And then you realize that, like who am I supposed to be? Right? Like, who am I supposed to become? Right? Who am I? Right? You start, and then you're on this journey of becoming who you believe you're. So that's why I said, like, pursue your gift, right? So your gift is who you are, right? Like, it comes from you. And we go in reverse order. We have stuff, and then we want to do something different than what we're doing, because the having doesn't fulfill us, the doing doesn't fulfill us, and then being fulfills you, becoming fulfills you. When we really be focused on being, then doing, right? So if who I am is what did I say? A coordinating extraordinaire. Like, if that's who I am, right? If I am that, like, if that's who I be, I'm going to do things that are aligned with who I am. And by doing things that are aligned with who I am, I'm going to have the things that I desire. But we're so focused on and conditioned to do it the opposite way. Have, then do, then be, versus being, then doing, then having. So I would say you can go make the money, but the money's not going to fulfill you, right? It's short-lived, right? And so becoming will fulfill you because you're being who you're naturally created to be. So I'm not so much saying do what you love, because what you love may not be what you're gifted at. So I would say do what you're gifted at, and that will lead to the money.
I like how she put that. You kind of took everything I might have said. So I'm gonna add something to it. I'm gonna just use an analogy. So when I find myself at a crossroad, I may look both ways. And my teaching growing up taught me, man, if you would ask me what to study, I would say yourselves, and you will have studied them, right? So you've been studying, and I've been studying myself in my GD, similar to what you shared. I took the approach of being first. I focused on who I wanted to become. And along the way, I did a lot of stuff, and I got some things, which was cool. But I never lost sight of being. And when I came to these different crossroads, right, I focused on who am I going to become in this journey? Who am I aiming to become? When it came to my partners, in my relationships, I always look, is this person going to make me more of the man that I imagine myself being? If yes, dive in. If no, maybe have some fun for a little. No, sometimes you had a little, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't the godly thing to do. But maybe they needed something from you or in you that only you could share in a unique way. But anyway, moving on. Or, get some things that you like and keep it moving, right? Experience things like going on vacation with family or, traveling to different parts of the world on somebody else's dime. Like, all of those things are cool. Experiencing it, get some exposure. So that was part of the, the doing. But usually when I come to a crossroad like that, I didn't make those roads. I encountered those roads. And usually it's somebody else's path that laid that out. And so if I'm being, if I'm paying attention to what's going on around me in life, I'm going to say, I'm going to notice, well, what are the outcomes? What's at the end of that road for those that pursued the money? And you hear wealthy and rich people all the time, divorces, breakup. I guess the news skews it a little bit because they don't just tell all the great stuff about, the people who are using their wealth for philanthropy. And, you hear less of that and more of the, the scandals. However, you look at those, all right, these are things that I'm going to encounter. And I was actually listening to Kevin Hart and interviewing Trevor Noah on his Comedy Gold show. And they talked about how, there's a beauty and benefit and new problems that you encounter when you reach different levels of financial success. But you also realize that money isn't it. Man, I'm hearing it from people who are multinational, personalities and successful in their lanes. So when listening to them, I'm saying, all right, I know down the road of like get the money, but that's going to come somewhere else because you have to realize there's more to it. You have to recognize and learn from them. There's more to it. So what can you put down this other road is doing what you love. And there are people out there who spent their lives doing what they love, but never really developed, never really poured themselves into it. Mm-hmm. They enjoyed it, but they didn't continue to develop. They only
or for whatever reason, they just never hit pay dirt. For whatever reason.
Right. That happens too, right? I still think that those are symptoms of development. Those are symptoms of development. If you go to class, sit up front, you're gonna get something out of it. But if you just show up to do what you love, now granted, showing up is half the battle. But if you never continue to develop yourself, right? And I mean, on the mental side, right? Developing yourself and what Majidi talked about in your identity. When I listened to Trevor Noah talk about he had a mentoring moment with Kevin Hart, and what he used that moment to was ask about how he sold out arenas, how he told jokes in front of a crowd that size. And now he's doing the same things. Why? Because he already had a vision of himself, and what he saw in Kevin, he saw in himself. Mm-hmm. Right? When I look at somebody like an Eric Thomas, I see him in myself. And I had a chance to have a mentoring moment with him. And I haven't asked him a question since because I haven't finished executing on that piece of what he shared with me. But I asked him about the community and circles of people that you run with. And essentially got the answer that we run in the same playbook. I said, well, dang. I'm going to just keep running ET's playbook until my squad looks like ET's. And I don't care how long it's going to take me to do that because I finally see an example of what that looks like for me. I finally see a reflection of somebody who's walked a similar road, who's asked some of the same questions, who sought out to be the version of themselves that's best for them. And it didn't come with a bunch of money up front. It came with a lot of passion. It came with a lot of self-study. It came with a lot of faith and dedication. It came with doing what you love and investing in the people around you who are going to support you in that mission no matter what, and being faithful in that. Again, from my perspective and from my experience, being faithful in that, you realize you serve an abundant God and all your needs are going to be provided no matter what. He's always on time. He always provides enough.
I don't like that discussion.
Good.
I don't like that discussion. And there's a reason why, but it's a reason why though. Go for it.
Now, before listen, you got to be fair now. Before you criticize me, you got to I need a little tune up. I want to
I don't know how to do that with a brother. I know how to do that with my woman, but I don't know how to
do
that with a brother.
Before you tear me down, tune me up. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want to feel. I want to feel good. Go ahead, Maurice. I hope y'all caught that message though. Is the key thing I was going to is I'm gonna either turn back down the road of personal development because I know that that's the mission I'm on. Because the rest of that quote was when you well study yourself, and then I'll ask you what to study next. I'll reply yourselves. He who knows his higher self knows, he who knows his lower self knows the illusions of the world. He who knows his higher self knows his God and all the things that don't pass away. So I'm focused on the things that's not going to pass away. I'm focusing on the skills, the qualities, the characteristics that I'm building in myself that can be transferred to others. And through that legacy won't pass away. Right? The stuff will go away. My personal journey will disappear. But the things that I'm able to transfer and pass on to others will live on. And so I invest myself in developing what I can pass on. And let the universe handle the rest. Nature will handle the rest. But go ahead. He don't like that discussion.
Majida, you were gonna say something. It sounded like. No.
Tune me up. Tune me up.
No, there was I think I recall a show sometime last year, probably, where like y'all were talking about slapping each other. So this is very different.
I recall
like getting paid to slap one another or something. So yeah, different.
Yeah, that's what the money will do to you. How you doing things to go against your values. And Maurice said he was okay with slapping his brother.
Yeah,
for the money, for the money.
100%. And not only that, I would expect my brother to understand once I tell him the story. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would understand. Oh, I slapped you because okay, all right, I got you now, bro. I understand. Had some dough on the line, bro. I couldn't tell you about it before I did it, but that's why I did it. You know what I mean?
Oh man, people got wealthy. I mean, the jackass guys got wealthy from doing dumb stuff like that. You know,
yeah.
Impractical jokers are wealthy from doing dumb stuff to each other. I mean,
yeah. You know, man. One of the reasons why I went to jump in on you a second ago is because
tune me up. Tune me up.
I don't know if I can tune you up, but I'm not gonna criticize you either. I'm not gonna criticize you. So
fair enough.
I am not one that believes, and again, I don't want to go off on another discussion, okay, with this. So, but I do want to say why I went to stop.
Don't worry, I'll bring it back.
Yeah, no problem. That's what's up. I'm not one that believes that everything will just turn out okay. If, and I'll just say ... Like I'm one that believes that for everything to go okay, you gotta massage things into place.
There we go. There's the tune up.
I am not one that I'm kind of one of the ones that believe like you gotta massage things into place. And the reason I believe that is because like there's like a lot of people are doing quote unquote the right thing that still ain't getting the result that they want. Or still aren't getting the result that they feel like they deserve. You know, good things happen to bad people. I am one that believes that. So I don't think that like the common denominator between all of us is we all have the same creator. That is the common denominator between all of us. Yet some of us, some get what they want and some don't. Some find happiness and some don't. Some do the right thing and still don't find happiness. You get what I'm saying? And some don't really follow what some others of us say is the perfect straight and narrow path, yet they will still find their fair share of happiness. You know what I'm saying? Like there are people that you would say are good people that they would want to be where, let's just say like a Jay-Z, just throwing that name out, for instance, like a dope boy that has hurt a lot of people, that has found his way out of that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like all of that's behind me now. Like to me, when you compare those two paths, both of those people got the same father in common, yet both of those paths is like, this is the good one, yet they're the one that's struggling, and this is the one that started off messed up, and that's the one that, you know, it appears to have, you know, found a better life for themselves, you know what I mean, and helping others find a better life for themselves. So I'm not one that necessarily believes that that you can just hope and you can just depend on things to just unfold as they need to. And I guess this kind of goes back to the source of this question. Like, if I do believe, I'm thinking about what Majida says a lot as well. I'm surprised I haven't heard you say it tonight yet, which is it's not necessarily about making the right decision. It's about making the decision and then making it right. I'm thinking about that as we talk about it, as well. And so, like, to me, stuff like that could be the deciding factor between a person such as a Jay-Z and another person that may have been on a good path their whole life, but still may not have found what they're looking for, right? One person made a choice and made it right, and the other person kind of, you know, I think I'm doing the right thing, but I'm not really sure, but I'm hoping and I'm praying, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm not doing on my own that I could be doing because, you know what I mean? And, you know, for me, one of my personality traits from taking personality tests, one of my personality traits is efficiency. And like from listening to the results of that personality test that I took, it's like this is what is one of the driving forces behind so many actions that you take. This is sometimes why I find myself raising my voice at people. This is why I have an authoritative personality. This is who I am. Like in my nature, and I don't always follow my nature, but in my nature it is to go straight to the answer. You know what I'm saying? And so with all of that, it's like, all right, again, what is the common denominator? And shoot, it's like it's easy for a person like me, I would say, to say, okay, what's working and what's not working, and like almost, again, not criticizing anything that you said, but almost not even, you know, I guess in certain scenarios I'd pay attention to what I love, but in certain scenarios I'm like, man, that ain't got nothing to do with it. In certain scenarios, again, I won't say that that's absolute, but I can definitely say from looking at things from my perspective, in certain scenarios, it's like, man, forget what I love, forget what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like if this is producing results, you know, I gotta flow with that. I gotta roll with that. You know, so I guess I got a little bit of a different take. You know what I mean on that, but you know.
No, that's a beautiful point, and I love when we have these different perspectives, because being on the other side of that, where results didn't matter as much, and I mean like a volume of results, right? What mattered to me were certain results. It didn't matter to me as much that you got there, because getting there to me is a symptom of endurance, right? Like if you can endure, if you can just stick with it, you're gonna get somewhere with it. And I don't want to diminish that, because there's some people that are really gifted at getting to a result. But what does that result mean? And what impact does that result have? Right? Now, that's backfired on me, because at times in my careers or my activities, because in focusing on a specific result, I bypassed the practice results that led to the ideal result that I was aiming for. And so it took me longer to get to the ideal result, because I took longer to put in the practice reps. And so when I began to value the practice reps and results, similar to what it sounded like, what's working, and just keep doing that until it looks how you imagine it to look, if you imagine anything at all. Right. So the question I would ask somebody like you, and this would even be something I do in my coaching, is what is it when you say, all right, you're doing what's working, but what is what you're doing for? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose of it? And that you're on mute.
I think that's a relevant question, a relevant point as well. Again, that's kind of what I meant when I said in different scenarios, it might be a little bit different. You know, in building out my brand, my objective is, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna pop saying this. My objective is monetization. Like some people in that space would say, nah, your objective need to be to help, it's all of that. But let's just get right efficiency to the meat and potatoes. Why am I trying to help people? Look, the objective is monetization. You know what I mean?
Go deeper. So why are you working to monetize? See, this is where a lot of people stop where you do, is monetization, and they just focus there. And as long as they're monetizing, they think they're doing something and they're getting that result.
Well, again,
they're not actually engaging with the deeper reason.
Well, again, I think it's relevant what the purpose is. I think it's relevant what the purpose is. You know what I mean? So before I get in, so say again.
Go deeper with me on that.
But before I get into why the monetization, well, I guess I can go right into that. Like,
yeah.
Well, I don't want to draw it out, but there's purpose for the monetization. And if my goal is monetization, then from that measure, that is okay. Then that's what the measuring stick is. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm doing something, if the goal is monetization and I'm doing something that's fulfilling me, that's taking my time, but not giving me the monetization. And then I'm doing another thing that's giving me the monetization. Like, okay, what are you trying to do? And why would you be looking at anything other than the thing that's going to get you from point A to point B in the most efficient manner?
And it's interesting when you put that. And Majid definitely chime in at any point here. So monetization may be the first step toward a deeper goal, right? Like monetization may be a short-term goal. Hey, I monetize, and I can continue to monetize and grow the monetization. But what is it that you're using the monetization for? Where someone like
several things. One thing would be, I'm creating the money to take care of an obligation. The second thing is
which is
to gain a skill set.
Then? Okay.
Second thing is to gain a skill set. So how do you measure how effective you are at building a skill set? This is one thing that I love. This is a great discussion, by the way. This is one thing that I love about business and money as opposed to other subjects. Mm-hmm. It is easy to tell when you are winning with money because you got some. You get what I'm saying? Absolutely. It's a little bit more difficult to tell when you're winning with health. People ask me all the time, how do I maintain good health? Well, just because I'm slim don't mean that I got good health. It's a little bit, the measuring stick is a little bit more abstract. But when it comes to business and money, the way you keep score is the money. And there are other ways to keep score as well in business, influence and all of that good stuff too. But one of the simple measuring sticks is money. If your business is successful, it got money coming in. If it don't, then there you go. To me, this kind of goes back to boiling it down to the simplest way to look at it. You get what I'm saying? And so for me, and it's just me, and at this particular juncture that we're talking about, if we're talking about business and we're talking about growing your skill set, how do you measure these things? For me, I measure it indirectly within how much money my business is producing.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like real simple way to measure it. You ain't making no money, you got to change some stuff in your business. And
something that Trevor Noah said though, and it's like you, and I'll paraphrase it a little bit, but he said, when you get to certain levels of success like that, like himself with the Daily Show, like Kevin Hart with all he has going on, you realize one of the things Trevor Noah said is that he doesn't like the Forbes list because it measures a person's value and boils it down to one value, the money, ultimately. Mm-hmm. And in the pandemic environment, similar to myself, one of the things that he spoke about was that he's no longer looking to be like top of the Forbes list because of what he earned, but he's looking to be the happiest individual. He wants to be well known and celebrated for his happiness. And how can you see that? It's how he shows it,
it's right? Hard to measure that.
That's a lot harder to measure.
Yep.
That's a lot more difficult to measure.
Yep. How do you know if you're succeeding at that or not? How do you know if you're fooling yourself or not? You know what I mean? Like I thought I was happy. How many times you thought you were happy with what you're doing and then you realize that it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like that's difficult to measure sometimes. But the money thing, when you're talking about a number figure, it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Numbers don't lie. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of the things he also said though is like, don't get me wrong. Being broke is not gonna make you happy either. You know what I mean? Like you can be wealthy and unhappy, but being broke's not gonna make you happy either. Get some money. I love it. Deion Cole. I look to comedians for inspiration because a lot of them they speak truth.
100%. We need them now more than ever. Totally.
And and it's interesting that we can recognize that among comedians. Is comedians who are speaking truth, like because it resonates with you. It is a feeling. It's not like you get chills to your body or you actually laugh and be like, man, that resonates with me. That brings me joy. That statement, somebody being able to speak it and say it in that truth. And so he has a joke where he talks about he's talking about being big. He was just like, don't be big your whole life. You gonna be big your whole life? Like, get slim one time, at least try it out. Don't be big your whole life. Your whole life? And I think about being wealthy the same way, or being broke. Like, you're gonna be broke your whole life? Your whole life? Like, you'll get rich one time. At least try it out. At least get some exposure. And then you can be as broke as you want. But like, At least get rich one time. You know what I mean? See what it's like.
Yeah, I want to say something on that too. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
But one of the inspirations is like, man, there are so many different ways to measure. That's everything's not as cut and dry. Everything's not as numerical, right? When I think of my joy of happiness, it truly is, and this is how I define my sense of freedom, and it brings me a level of peace to be able to say that, to be able to say yes when I want to say yes and no when I want to say no. Right, to be able to stand on who I say I am and back it up by how I live.
Oh, I got a great question in the line with what you just now said.
Go ahead. Come on, get some of this, Majida.
Hey,
she in there with the popcorn. She over here, Michael Jackson with the popcorn meme, enjoying the combo. What do you got for us?
I'm thinking about something Grant Cardone said again. I've heard Grant Cardone say before, I'm not looking for happiness. I'm looking for whatever he's looking for, right? So when you said that a minute ago, it's like I want to be happy, but me wanting my successful business, I'm going to be happy anyway. Me wanting my business to be successful and profitable is totally separate from that.
How can you presume that you're going to be happy anyway?
Well, that's a decision that you're going to make regardless of what happens. And that is why I'm bringing up this point right here. So like we're talking about when to double down as opposed to when to let something go, right? And I guess one of the things that we bring up is happiness, but okay, if I'm looking to be happy, I got to make a decision to be happy with whatever. So, okay, I've made up my mind to be happy. Cool. Now I want a successful business. To me, that it still goes back to, okay, how do I create the successful business? What do I double down on and what do I cut? You know what I'm saying? Like it still goes back to that piece to me, right there.
And
like,
one of the ways you measure the success of your business is through the revenue, through your profitability, right? That's one way you can measure the success of your business.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying if my business ain't making money, it ain't successful?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying one way to measure success in your business, right? You can focus on the monetization, but notice that you were focused on monetization as one measure of success, and you can continue to double down on that being a measure of success. But keep it. However, I want you to keep in mind, similar to what people who have had financial success, who've succeeded in making the money, are opening it, and want you to also be aware that that's not the only way to measure. And if you only measure your success in one dimension, you may attract more problems that you're not prepared to deal with.
Well, maybe if you're measuring your success in a general sense by that one measure, but we're talking about measuring your success in business. We're talking about measuring your success in business. And just in my opinion, how happy you are matters. How much influence your business has matters. All of that matters. But at the end of the day, did you bring in revenue? It takes finances.
So
you know what I'm saying? So watch this. So watch this. Going back to the health piece.
Yeah.
I walk every day. I'm happy. I see the weight coming off, but I still can't breathe. What good is health if you can't breathe? I'm slim. You know what I mean? I got low cholesterol, low blood pressure, but I can't breathe. That is the money piece. You get what I'm saying? Like, and it ain't to me, and I think I would agree with what you're saying. I think I'm just saying money.
I'm not saying look past the money.
I agree.
And I'm feeling you.
I don't hear that you're saying that.
And I feel what you're saying is like I can't breathe. Like, man, I'm slim, but my cardiovascular is trash right now. Like I'm out here, I'm fit, but it's not because I'm breathing great out here.
And it's the same thing about the business. My business has influence. People are enjoying it. But at the end of the month, I'm in the red every month.
Mm-hmm.
you can't keep going that way. I don't care how happy what you're doing is making you. That would be my opinion. I don't want to say that in such an absolute way. That would be my perspective on that. But again, keep in mind, I'm one of those, I think it's the efficiency side of me that's making me say that. I think that's kind of maybe what that is. You know
and I also think on the side of sustainability, right? If what you do in your business does bring you joy, but it's not bringing you revenue, you're not going to be happy doing that for long.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point as well. I would say, I would agree.
Right. You can keep doubling down, but at some point, the governments that you operate under be like, that's not a business, that's a hobby. Stop fooling yourself. Like, reality will catch up to you. And that was one of the things that I personally had to look at. I said, man, the idea of me operating in this business is cool, but my results aren't sustainable, not the way that I'm going. And I changed up a whole bunch of stuff that didn't have to do anything with my bottom line. It had a lot to do with perception. I was like, well, dang, if people's perception of me mattered that much in my business, this probably ain't the business for me. And I felt the same way in my career. People's perception of me influenced or had such an influence on whether I could get hired or get a position. Things that were out of my control, or even things that were in my control. And I know that perception is reality for me, right? Perception is I'm not ignoring the fact that how people perceive me is going to have an impact on what I do. But if there were things that are out of my control, if someone else could decide whether my future or whether to work with me or not because of how I look or how my hair is and how I present myself, man, I gotta look at the man in the mirror and say, man, do I need to make changes? Do I double down in pleasing the masses, or do I do what's fulfilling to me?
Right.
And ultimately, I said similar to what Majida said, right? If I'm faithful to my word, it says your gifts will make room for you. And so if I'm going to invest in a plan that's going to be abundant, it's going to come from inside, not from what somebody's going to tell me outside. The money's going to materialize from the value that you create, but the value is generated by what you build in yourself, right? And the way that you can measure that is in the evidence that is produced, right? Like if you got a bricklayer who's able to build a building, you may value the house at a certain amount, but you're going to value the bricklayer more because they can build more. They can create more houses than houses can create bricklayers.
Of course.
Okay. So the value is gonna come from within. However, you do have to produce from that value. And to me, that's one of those critical points is how productive are you in what you're doing? And if you feel like you're gaining, you're progressing, oftentimes I say stick with it. If you're progressing and it's bringing you more of what you desire, stick with it.
I would say that's when you double down. I would totally agree with you that when you're looking at what to double down on, you definitely, and again, it all depends on what your objective is, but and especially in the early days, you got to look at more than just like losing weight. Like you can't measure the success of what you're doing by if you lost weight at the end of the week. You might not be able to do that when you first start out. You might start out at first running a mile every day, and then you might hop on the scale after 2 weeks and see that the scale look the same. That don't mean that what you're doing ain't working. And see, I would agree with that. I see what you're saying.
And I run across this in my accountability coaching that people are looking to better manage their time. They're looking for more accountability in doing what they say they're going to do and being consistent in doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for consistency in simply completing tasks, right? Because you could be doing a whole lot. And actually, I posted on this earlier this week. I said, divorce being busy. Like, let's stop glamorizing doing stuff for the sake of having stuff to do.
Jim Rohn said said doing what? you're always doing. The question is doing what? Right. Try to get that Jim Rohn inflection in there.
So if you
I had one for him too. Go ahead, B.
So, I think something to look at is it moving you in the direction that you desire to go? And if you change direction, to me, it only makes sense to switch it up. Like if you double down and, oh, you know what? We was going down this road, and then your GPS says rerouting, rerouting, but you never follow because in your mind, the result is down this road. To me, that's foolish. Especially when you have something that can show you the direction that you want to go, but you're not being obedient to it. And that's what I think about those people who are good people who may not reach what they want. In my own experience, and again, I'm good people, and I've been not so good people at times, right? But in my experience, I'm always going to get to the result. It may not look the way I want, but I'm always going to get to the result if I stick to moving down the paths that'll move me in that result. If I'm continuing to be obedient to what I'm called to do and move where I'm called to be moved. I mean, move to where I'm called to be moved, right? It's like being on the chessboard, right? If you move to a certain position, you get to hold that position. But if you move out of that position, you lose the benefits of being in that position. And I think oftentimes people move too soon, or they stay too long.
Yeah.
It's hard to not do either one of those.
Yeah.
To avoid both of those.
No,
you know what I mean?
no, I'm gonna change your perspective. It's easy to not do either of those, but it takes being tuned into yourself.
Yeah,
it takes being obedient.
Have to elaborate on that one.
Oh man, go ahead, Gita. Come on, Gita.
No, Jim Rohn. What's easy to do is also easy not to do.
Absolutely.
But
she's disagreeing with you.
No.
She sounds like she's disagreeing with you.
No, she's saying no. What you just said. What's hard? It's hard to do those other things. It's hard to not leave too early, and it's
kind of like that's kind of like timing the market.
Yeah.
Which everybody knows is not possible.
Yeah. But I just want to bring up a couple of points. So, like Maurice earlier, when you were speaking about, doing what you love versus doing what makes money. So, like right now, you're the helpful trucker, and you're also owner operator of MT Bay Trucking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm assuming what you love.
Careful now. Second agreement. Don't make assumptions.
All right. Well,
let's ask a question.
What's making money is you as an owner operator, correct?
Yeah.
All right. What you love is
making
money. All right, but what you do on your YouTube channel, why do you do that?
I enjoy being helpful. And it's sad, it scratches a creative itch.
Okay.
Best way I can put that.
All right. It scratches a creative itch. All right. We'll go with that. And I think that has merit because similarly, right, like I have no background in IT, tech, coding, nothing. But I built a website a week ago. And I was like, yo, this is a skill set, right? Like I got another tool in the tool belt that I can like pull out, bam, I can use it. And it scratches a creative itch, if you will. Does that generate revenue? Absolutely not. But it's
absolutely not.
I mean, it doesn't at the present moment.
Okay. I was just saying, let's be impeccable with our words here.
It can, it will, and it must in the future. But at the present moment, no. The website I created, it cost me some money to set up. But no, it's not generating me any money yet. That being said, you're doing what you do on your YouTube channel because there is some satisfaction or joy from doing that. And you also understand that potentially has the ability to not only monetize in a way to generate revenue, but it also could position you so you don't have to be in the truck. It can generate passive income so you don't have to generate active income, right? So it's freedom, right? It's freeing you. It has the potential to give you more freedom,
more options,
right? Provide you a certain lifestyle. And so back to Bakar's point about like your gift will make room for you. What you do on your YouTube channel, you do effortlessly, right? Now I know there's some work involved with editing the videos and, you know, making sure they get posted and all that, but like just you and the camera speaking, you do it effortlessly, right? You don't have to like sit down. I would have to write out that script, practice it, and probably record it 15 times for it to come out the way that you say it naturally. Right. But that's your gift. So that gift can make room for more freedom, more options, more lifestyle. And so I think it's important that we're aware when we are aware of our gifts, because if you weren't aware of that, you would just be driving the truck.
I agree.
And
I agree. I have to agree with that.
You know, you wouldn't even have the thought or idea to get you out of the truck doing something that scratches a creative itch, but also utilizes your gift. Same thing for me, right? Now that I understand that my gift is coordinating and, you know, organizing, scheduling, that type of thing. Now that I recognize it as I'm doubling down on my gift, and I have evidence that it can work. But I don't have the full, right? Working a job, right? It's making the money. But if I double down on the job, I'm not going to make any more money. Right?
Oh, hey, for the y'all listening, I hope you caught that. Can you double up in your job?
So it's working, it's making money, but it's a limited, right? I don't control it. There's a limited amount available to me. If I double down on my gift, if I double down on something that I have evidence can work and I can control or I can create the income that I want, then the potential for the results to be more beneficial are greater when I invest in my gift, right? Or investing in what I love, right? So like I said, it don't have to necessarily be what you love, but something that CJ says all the time, you know, if you have two different gifts, right? If you have a couple gifts, you're trying to decide which route to take, which one is going to generate more money for you, and use that to fund the other stuff you want to do, right? So let's say my gift is coordinating. You're muted, bro.
So he's using money as that measuring stick again.
He is.
Decide. Yeah.
Right. But he's saying use your superpower, right? But use the superpower that's going to make you more money. So we'll use the example of E.T. His superpower is speaking. So he uses the speaking to motivate, inspire, move people to action. And from that, he's created a community that generates revenue. He's created conferences that is able to, you know, provide resources and things like that. So the one gift has created all of these sub businesses, if you will, for his organization. And similarly, I think we all have that capacity, right? There is the thing I could invest in the financial services business, build that to then invest in a construction business, or I can invest in the construction business that will allow me to fund not so much a financial services business, but a financial education, right? Because what I value from the financial services was helping people achieve financial independence. So one thing can fund the other, but my gift is in coordinating. That's not necessarily needed in financial services. It's needed in construction. So let me double down on the gift, lean into the construction, and let that generate the revenue for me to be able to fund a financial literacy school or start a charter school or financial, invest in the things that are of value to me and the things that I love or that are important to me. But that gift, like Bakar said, the gift makes room for you, not the money.
Ooh.
So your advice to people, it would be, if they got to choose between doing what they love and paying their bills.
No. That is no.
I'm saying that's the wrong road. Yeah, pay your bills. But that's the wrong road. That's the wrong way to look at that. That's the wrong way to look at it, because that's not an abundant mindset.
Right.
Choose both.
Before you say that, understand.
Put them in order.
Well,
choose
before
both.
you hold it. Before you say that, again, I think it goes back to where a person is.
Yeah.
So let's just pretend for a second that you're head of household.
Mm-hmm. I am.
Now answer the question.
I'm doing both.
Pay your bills or do what you love.
I'm doing both.
Well, from I can appreciate that, and I agree with that, and I agree with that because that's what I'm doing. And that's what you're doing too. But keep in mind, if we're choosing between what to double down on and what to cut, that's kind of the question that I'm asking you. Like, if we're at that juncture where we got to choose one or the other,
I think you walk back the way you came and go build your belief until you believe you can do both. Okay.
I think and that's a great answer. But
it does come a point where, and I was talking to my partner about this. And when I say partner, I don't mean romantic. When
I say partner, I mean romantic.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Hey, babe. No.
When I was talking to my partner, and I was like, I'm not going to cut off your foot to spite your face. I don't know, crazy sayings, but basically I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot in order to pursue this dream, if you will. I will prepare, right? And so I think there's a level of not just diligence, but what's the word? Prudence that needs to be exercised in making. So it will come a time where if I birth a baby, the baby needs me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna take care of my baby at all costs. And my faith is that, similar to what Bakar said earlier, right? Like, a way will be provided. If I believe that I'm called to rear this baby, then I'll
steward.
Right, to be a steward of what I've birthed, then
not what.
I don't feel like I have the freedom to do that as head of household. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I agree with what you're saying. I agree and see what you're saying.
Well, you got to challenge those limiting beliefs.
Right, because you have evidence. Because this is the thing, right?
Okay, hold on. Let me say this, and then I'm going to let you finish, Majida. I apologize. Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to cut you off, but let me say this real quick. So, there's a lot that I want to do in this world, man. But, the man that I look up to is that old school dude that put all of his, what you would call his dreams and ambitions on hold for the benefit of others.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the man passes away and the children realize and the family realizes how much stuff this man has been hoarding and storing away, financially and other stuff, for the whole family, to the point that the relatives afterwards are like, yo, this dude held it down, went to work every day from sun up to sundown. We hear these stories of these old school men that we all will say they don't even exist no more.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that I want to do in my life. I got a lot of dreams, but that's one of the things that's alluring to me.
So can I challenge that?
Yeah, when I finish. Yeah, I like again, like kind of going back to like I agree with what y'all what Majid saying and what you're saying as well, Bakar. I definitely agree with it, but like there's a side of me that's like what I love is not important. It's just not important. Like I need to do what I need to do.
So what you leave is more important than what you love.
Say it again.
What you leave to you is more important than what you love.
That's a good way to put it.
So let me
in a certain sense, yeah. In a certain sense,
let me challenge you. You said that all of those old dudes that you admired, after they were gone, the people who they loved then realized their value.
Sometimes they realize it while they're here, but I'm just saying we hear those people all the time. We say, man, that dude don't exist no more, man. You know?
Yeah, you said that. So what if you aspired to be one of those dudes while you're living?
I think the men that do that, that's they have that purpose. That's the point that I'm making. The guy that does that says, forget what I want. I'm going to do what I need to do. To me, that's what that's what the person that is able to accomplish that does. So again,
it doesn't have to.
To me, that sounds like purpose, and that may be your path of purpose.
In other words, there are those that will define a man by his ability to live for others. So it don't mean that. So I the only reason I'm sharing this is for the purpose of perspective. You know what I mean? Like you know. Go for it.
I'm saying it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, right? So I'm not an old school dude, right? But I share that sentiment where I want to be remembered for the way that I prepared, right? I prepared a way for the next generation. I prepared a way for my children to have a better future, right? So if I die today, God willing, they are positioned to live the life I desired for them. If I died today. And so that old school dude may not have had the education that we now have to where he could still, right? So like at the present moment, I can still pursue what I love and those gifts and it not take away from my family being able to eat, my family having a roof over their head. My family, right? So what I want for my family is, I'll give you an example. Like I want them to be able to experience certain things. So this year we traveled some, right? We went to California, we've been to Texas, we went to New Jersey a couple times. I feel like we went somewhere else, but we travel, right? So I want my children to have those exposures. If I wait till I die to leave the money so they can have it then, I don't get to experience it with them. So I don't, tomorrow's not promised. So I take advantage of what can I do today, right? Like it's you can't put it off indefinitely. And so for me, it's like I can do both, right? Maybe it's a trip or two a year to give them the exposure to have the experiences, because that's what's going to open up their minds to what's possible for them. But at the same time, I've laid a solid foundation to where whenever I go, they can still fulfill and live the life and live out the dreams that they have for themselves and that I have for them. So I don't think it's, I'm doing it simultaneously, but my goals are largely attached to other people, right? It's what I want for them. So I'm doing it with them. The goals, and I don't really have any like legit goals for myself other than like having a vacation home,
like I don't have any goals for myself other than having a second house.
Right. I mean, just like, I'm just saying, just for me, I've had a dream a couple of times of this like glass house on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. I had like if I had that, I'm good. Right? Just to be able to have a place that I can go.
You mean when you get that?
When. Yeah, like that's my peace in life, right? When I have that, when I obtain that.
By when? No, no. No. I love what you're sharing there, and I think I know because I've experienced this over and over again as I've sat and worked with people. Is that what's on the surface of what they're aiming for? It really is just the tip of the iceberg. There is something that each and every one of us desires that's innately in us. And like you mentioned, Maurice, those people who are good people who may not see the level of success that they dream is realistically at some point they stop believing that they could have it.
That may be. I'm not denying that.
No, I'm saying
I'm not denying that.
At some point they stop believing that they have it, so they stop working toward it, right? And they didn't get into alignment with it. They didn't surround them. They didn't do all that they could do in order to see it come through to fruition. And they settled for being just a good person. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? You can make the money, you can have a great life, or you fall somewhere in between. Because the reality is we all have a limit on our time, but we don't have a limit on our impact. We don't have a limit on our influence. We can continue to work on ourselves every day of our lives, get better. And that's why I promote, that's why I share, that's why I teach everybody in my community to truly make every moment count. Because if you believe it can be yours, it is. If you can envision and see in your mind, man, that's a blessing. Because nobody else is having that thought. That was directly delivered to you. That had your address on it, your stamp on it, right? So when do you switch it up? And that's why I think it really takes knowing yourself, getting in touch with your creator, understanding how this energy flows so that you can get into the flow with it, so you know when to double down, that you can make this decision intuitively, right? You can ask your career. You ain't got to go, hey, when do I do? You feel it. Oh, it's time to get out of this. The conditions are right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that results thing again. I've broken up. I can recall, and I think I'm free to say this because I don't think this person is on, but I can recall having, so I'm sitting in the temple one day and I'm thinking, the thought hits me, Yasmin, that's your wife. Thought hits me, right? I'm like, damn, where'd that come from? And once it hit me, I couldn't get that thought out of my head. I had a girlfriend at that point, and I tried to get the thought out of my head, but I couldn't at that point.
Well, we know what trying does.
I tried my best to get that thought out of my head of Yasmin is your wife. That's who you need to marry. And I'm with this girlfriend, and like, it's like, boom, you know what? Is it going back to the efficiency bar? Like, is this it or is this not? Like, sometimes in life you get put to a point where you gotta sugar honey iced tea, SHIT, or get off the pot. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I guess, kind of thinking about what you said as well. Sometimes we hold on to things too long. Sometimes we let things go too quick. Like it once it hit me, it's like, you know what? Like a couple of days later, I was like, yo, this ain't working. This ain't going. You're not. And it was. I hated to do it, but it was unemotional. It's like, this is the bar. It ain't no. Well, there is some element of what I want here and all of that. Like, what's the most direct path from point A to point B?
Because when you saw between wife and girlfriend, you was like,
what's the most direct path from point A to point B?
Wife.
This is the most direct path. Why am I taking any other path? That type of thing.
And you can find it in the Bible. Say, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. You can find it in our Quran. It says, take unto thyself a wife and obey.
I could have married the other one too, though.
Okay. Could you though?
Yes.
Would that have been obedience?
I could have if I wanted to. It was just a matter of.
Would that have been obedient to what you was?
That's another
conversation.
Yeah, that's another discussion. But
yeah.
We want to get into word with me, boy.
It was an Instagram post that somebody shared. I think it was John that shared it. But the guy was talking about like finding a wife he's like, when you find a wife, like it don't say you find a girlfriend and then you date her for a while. Like he finds a wife when he meets her. And we have evidence of that through our father, right? Like he saw our mother for the first time. He's like, that's gonna be my wife, right? Like there's an immediate draw to that person, right? Like you see wife.
Yeah, quality. She's not wife material.
And then you make a beeline to get to that.
Yeah.
Like how do you measure the standard of whether you're on the way to that or not? Like how do you measure that? Like is she
next
going
time
out with, is she going out with me or not?
Mastermind podcast.
Is she going out with me or not? Like that's
how do you measure a husband or a wife? Hey man, it's been great talking with y'all tonight. I think we really laid out a lot of great information. Not to toot our own horns enough, but I'm speaking to you all. I think you all laid out a lot of great points on whether to double down and when to switch it up. What I heard today was know yourself. Know yourself, tap into your gifts. Don't ignore the money. Okay. But don't focus solely on the money.
I think we can all agree with that. I know I can.
And ultimately, you have to really truly get to know yourself and intuitively understand what you're called to do, where you're called to be, and as I often say, what your assignments and your appointments are, right? This energy flows, the universe, the creator has a plan. And this is my belief, has a plan for all of us. But we have the freedom to follow it however we choose. But ultimately, what's going to be is going to be. And the happiness is making the wisest decisions all along that journey. So, man, tonight is rich. I'm looking forward to sharing this and getting some feedback. So, give us your feedback. Let us know how you feel about the conversations. What do you all want to hear more from the Seer Mastermind group? Majida and working out her titles, the extraordinary coordinator,
extraordinaire,
the coordinating extraordinaire, the helpful trucker, and myself, your
everything person.
Bow. All the gifts at work, aka the plug. I'm your habit and accountability
coach. Sound like the HNIC, the LEFFFA.
I love it because it makes me laugh every time. And you know what?
The laugh.
That's how I know I'm happy. And with that, hey, we'll call it a night. We'll see you all on the next show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your engagement. And thank you, the helpful trucker, and your coordinating extraordinaire. I'm happy to be here with you.
Peace.